Hey guys, and thanks for tuning in to FilmTools.tv. Today, our own Jim Martin will be reviewing the top 5 things you should know about the Canon C300. Let's take a look.
Jimmy Martin here in the Film Tools camera room, and today we wanted to give you 5 things you should know about Canon's Cinema EOS C300. Now first off, the biggest question we're getting asked right now is which version of the C300 to get, whether it's the PL or EF version. And obviously, if you have a lot of EF lenses, you'll get the EF version. If you have a lot of PL lenses, you'll go ahead and get the PL version. Now, there's also the option where you could go ahead and get the PL version and rent lenses, but just remember you'll be in competition with all the Alexa and Red owners out there. So that set that you might want might not be available. You're going to have to go ahead and get a lesser set. Not that this camera needs any help in the speed department, so to speak. Now, on the EF side, you do have cinema lenses that are available right now, both from Zeiss, the CP2s, which are fantastic lenses, as well as the EF primes that are coming latter part of the summer. The 24, 50, and 85 lenses at 1.3, 1.3, and 1.5 speed, which is pretty amazing for the price that they're going to sell for. After that, we'll be seeing more lenses rolled out over the next year. So that solves your cinema lens problem. But more importantly, if you have the EF version, you have 60 other lenses that you can draw from. Lenses that don't exist in PL land, like the 8-15, which was used on the movie Exit. They were able to take a camera and place it exactly 1 foot away from the face of the motorcycle rider as he was riding through the streets of San Francisco. Perfect application for that lens. And again, that 8-15 doesn't exist in PL land. Now, the form factor on this camera is what I think is really amazing. First up, we've got up on top, we have the handle and the monitoring system. Now, the cool thing about this LCD is it does go into just about as many configurations as you can come up with, everything rotating all the time. Now, this is mounted up on the handle where we can go ahead and put it in this position downward. We can have it back here, or of course, you could, without the handle, have the monitor here. Now, on the monitor itself, aside from swiveling and going into many different positions, you've got waveform and vector available for it. It also has the screen flip that, depending on what position you end up putting the LCD in, you're able to hit one button to quickly change the monitor in the right position. Now, of course, on the other side of this is our XLR connectors for our mics and or mic holder. Right next to the microphone and XLR connectors is the grip handle. Now, the great thing about this is it can be rotated in any number of positions, whatever the operator feels comfortable with. It has all the key functions, most importantly, a trigger up front and the 50% jump in picture in the back. Now, that gets us to our overall form factor. I think one of the magic things that happen when people do have this camera in their hand is the minute they get it there, they're just putting a big smile on their face. It is just comfortable to hold, it is comfortable to point, it is comfortable to get into a lot of different positions. Now, the weight of this camera by itself is under 4 pounds. So when you add a lens and all the parts, we're still well under 10 pounds, which is more than enough for somebody to be able to operate a long time in a handheld position. Of course, there are an awful lot of rigs that are now coming on the market, to whether you're doing shoulder mount or front of the body mounts. It overall is an incredible camera to hold. Now, aside from the form factor, what's really getting people's attention, obviously, is the picture taker on this camera. Now, this is a 4K chip with 10-bit processing, funneling down to 2K 8-bit recording on compact flash. Now, one of the special things about this chip is that it's got the double green going, and it's the first chip that's not being debayered, not being averaged down. So the result of that is what a lot of people are indeed calling real magic on the screen. What we saw on the screen definitely topped what we saw on the piece of paper for the specs. Now, the great thing about this chip, this picture taker, is not only are we getting an incredible 20,000 ISO, but it also is able to handle extremes of a picture where we've got an awful lot of bright and some dark. It's able to handle both of those properly. There was a great scene in Mobius where you saw the guy standing next to the Jeep, and he's on a cowboy hat. It's high noon, really, really bright outside. He's looking good under his hat. And normally those two guys in the car would be black silhouettes. Instead, we saw everything there, in color, looking sharp. So a camera that can handle that kind of thing, reach inside like that and grab that, as well as handle a very bright area. Again, an awful lot of magic going on with this chip. The camera comes with standard frame rates, 24, 30, and 60. You have slow motion at 720. Now, the codec that this camera records to, of course, is the XF codec, 50 megabit 422 color on fast compact flash cards. The XF codec slides right into the major editing systems from Adobe, Avid, and Apple. Now you can go to the Canon's website and download the XF utility so you can go ahead and handle the footage that you gain into your editing system. Now, one of the big things that seems to be ringing a bell with everybody here in Hollywood right now is the operational and production costs involving this camera. A lot of other cameras, you tend to have to keep buying things and keep adding things. This camera is ready to go out of the box. The battery that comes with it's going to run it almost 4 hours. You can buy the longer battery from Canon, the BP970 or the 975. It's going to run the camera almost 7 hours. Of course, if you already have a bunch of EF lenses, you're not going to have to go ahead and buy lenses at this time. And the size factor, everything is going to be smaller. The expenses of shooting nighttime with a 1 hour show is pretty cost prohibitive most of the time. Producers don't like to do it. Where a typical night shoot might involve 100 people and 4 semi-trucks, this camera might be 30 people and a small truck. The other great thing that a lot of the ASC DPs talked about who shot the movies is they all repeated the same thing. We got 70, almost 80 setups a day. That's just because of the small factor and the ability to change things very quickly. With this chip, the batteries run the camera a long time. There's not a lot of power required for a lot of lights. I think in the shorts that they used, they all had a 2K on the truck and they never used it. They were using much smaller lights for this. So overall, the cost of buying this camera, using this camera, and producing with this camera will really be dramatically lower than it would be in typically any other camera out there right now. Thanks for spending time with us here at Filmtools with the C300. I'm Jimmy Martin, and back to you, Jen.
Thanks, Jim, for that informative overlook of the Canon C300. For more exclusive features like this one, keep watching filmtools.tv and look out for updates on our Facebook and Twitter pages. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.